All right, hi everybody. David Fogel back with you, CEO of the Symphonina Foundation, back with another Symphonina Foundation podcast. I'm joined today by Symphonina Foundation Ambassador Fiona Gehrke and composer and educator Sam Lipman. Sam, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you doing today, David?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. I'm actually any day. I got to say this. I'm a space buff, and any day that there's a total eclipse of the sun, I am a happy guy. I saw it myself in August of 2017 in Idaho. I missed the one in Maine because I was sick and couldn't travel. My wife went back there to see it by herself. Unfortunately, no, our whole family was sick except her, so she went back. And I have some friends who are on a cruise boat north of Spain. They just saw it, I'm sure, about a half an hour ago. And I can't wait to hear all about it. So I'm doing great. I'm glad you're doing well. Fiona, I hope you're doing well. I understand that Fiona was part of a class that you teach at UT Austin. You're part of the UT Austin Butler School of Music. And I want to turn it quickly over to Fiona, and then I'm going to interject with a few questions. But I'm sure Fiona has a few things that she wants to follow up with you that maybe she didn't talk to you about while she was being mentored by you. So Fiona, take it away.
Yeah, Mr. Lipman and I met through the Golden Hornet Young Composers program. He mentored me in my last year during the program. He came to the concert, which was, I'm so grateful that you came. It was great to meet you in person. There's a question that I always like to ask people who work in both film and concert music, and I think this is a question that I'm actually okay with repeating a bunch of times because I usually don't like asking everyone the same question, but I love asking everyone who does this because everyone has a different opinion and view on it. What is it about film music versus concert music? Like, what is it about each medium that draws you to them? Is there one that you are drawn to more than the other?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll just give you the straight, honest answer. And a lot of it is just simply to do with money. Because film scoring is a easy way for me to raise a lot more money without having to hustle and write grants and apply for funding. Typically, a director comes in, there's a set fee, and I have a couple of kids, so I need to make money. It's a quick way to do that. And so, I'm not the kind of film composer that grew up, in love studying film scores, although that changed as I got older. But I always just wanted to write for symphony orchestra. But yeah, I think that it's a quicker way to make money. But I do think that, what film scoring asks for, and I want to say keeps me honest a little bit as a composer, is I need to come up with things that are undeniably valuable for everybody, especially because money is sitting on it. A whole team is resting on it. So if they need something that's shocking or sad or happy, I need to be able to come up with that. And there's no real science to it. It's very much kind of a magic, you know. It's a psychological thing. It's hard to quantify. And so I love that by scoring film, I developed this palette and this language and this confidence in gesture and melody and harmony and texture that helps, I think, in terms of the concert music, really gives the piece a little added, I want to say clause, which sounds so negative, like they can really reach in and grab an audience. Once you've done a lot of film scoring, you've learned how to be evocative because you've had to. You don't get to hide or say, well, this is my interpretation. You really are accountable on a team. And that team being able to deliver something that's undeniably effective, I think just gives your concert music a little more teeth, a little more depth to the colors, the palette that you're going to use as a composer. Now, I don't always try to be that obvious because a lot of times film scoring has to be obvious. As opposed to concert music, you want the opposite. You want people to be mystified. So it doesn't always add up, but I think there's a beautiful relationship between the two. And they're very much for me, they're pretty much the same language. It'd be like speaking German. And at one point you're in a pub and another point you're speaking in sort of a high society event or, it's just a different place, but for very much the same kind of language.
That's really interesting, actually, Sam, and I really appreciate what you're saying there because there is almost an objective measure when you're writing film score. Like the audience is the objective measure. How did it react, and do they and of course oftentimes we would say the music is secondary to the dialogue, so or the plot anyway, whatever, right? So it's there to enhance. Sometimes it's there on its own, but it's there to enhance, and people don't generally call out the music for being bad in any way. They call it out for being good when it's great. So it's not like an umpire where the best umpire, as they say, is always invisible. You never know they were there. But you're right. I mean, there's an absolute objective measure, whereas opposed to a concert, people can interpret things. It's like poetry, right? I mean, people can interpret whatever they take and what the composer meant, and who knows if we got what the composer actually meant. All those things are sort of up in the air if the composer doesn't tell us, right? Where did you get your start with music? We were talking before we turned on the recording that you grew up in Sydney, and we mentioned my mom was in Melbourne, so I said don't hate me for that. There's a little rivalry between Melbourne and Sydney sometimes, but we got through that part. So how did you get into music?
I came out of the womb singing. Apparently, I sang before I spoke. I've always been obsessed with music, and music has obsessed me. It's in my head all the time. So didn't really ever have too much of a choice. So I started out playing violin and playing piano, and then I tried to get away, and I played heavy metal guitar.
Nice.
And then I turned to jazz saxophone. I lived in New York and played jazz saxophone for 10 years. I worked with some great musicians, but eventually I kind of turned to my deepest love back to me, the orchestra is like the greatest instrument. If you think of it as one instrument, it drew me back, and I came back to school having spent decades performing, touring, being in bands, rock bands, jazz groups. And I decided to really have a shot, especially when I had kids. And I realized that time was limited, and that I'd rather do what I love than something that, either I think I should be doing. So that was the difference when I turned towards orchestral music.
And how did you find yourself to University of Texas then?
I had done quite a bit of touring, and every time I came through Texas, I loved it. I loved Austin. It was back in the 90s, it was very affordable. It had a fantastic
True
music
enough,
scene.
yes, exactly. Yes.
And it still does, but it was the only place where the music scene felt truly communal and not competitive.
Nice.
Everywhere else felt cutthroat. People were trying to compete for a small amount of opportunities. Here, everyone would be like, after the show, come over. We're going to grill till 2 a.m. Everyone's invited. There was a feeling of togetherness that I felt was very civilized and very attractive. And so I stayed here and got married eventually and went to school here. And I got into film scoring only through my degree. A friend of mine needed some music for a film, and so I scored it, and someone in the audience liked it, and one thing led to another.
Yeah.
But it was I never went after film scoring. It was just kind of something that I fell into, really.
Very fortunate. That's really great. But you've had a number of different opportunities for concert performances too. I noted when I was doing a little background on you, performance at Carnegie Hall, if I have that right, and performance by the New Jersey Symphony Orchestra. So you must have some good connections to be able to get those performances, which is awesome. What has been your experience in trying to get your music performed live?
It's pretty hard in the classical music field. Especially, I think, with shakeups and changes in the last decade, there's been a real shift. And this is nothing against young composers, because I love young composers, but it's almost like not cool to not be a younger composer. It's hard. So what I've had to teach myself, and I think this might be a Texas thing or a South thing, is that the way these things work is very much more based on private funding as opposed to public granting. I've had to pursue people instead of committees. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of money in government funding down here. So I've had to look at, okay, who's funding the symphony? Who's funding the opera? Who's funding ballet this year? They might like some of my music. So I've had to be quite judicious and quite intentional about fomenting new relationships, finding donors. And it's been a whole new experience for me, is learning this new skill in the last 5 years. And it turns out there's this fantastic community here in Austin that does want to support music no matter who makes it, whether it's young or old or black or white. It's really it feels more meritocratic than trying to run through. Sometimes there's a lot of checklists and hoops you find with government funding, and for good reason, but can be a real hindrance depending on your demographic. So I don't want to go on too much about that. It hasn't been easy, but again and again, the message that I get is like, just lean into your music. That's all you really need to do. And eventually, whoever needs to find you will find you. And that's been my experience.
That's great. Well, Fiona found you.
Yes, Fiona.
Serendipitously.
I found her.
Did you? How did it go?
Well, I mean, we found each other, but she's what she's doing is magical. So there's a fantastic program here in Austin, the Golden Hornet Project, and it's run by a friend, a fellow composer, Graham Reynolds, who I've worked with for decades. And I mean, the first time I played with him, we were playing punk rock at the Hole in the Wall, which is a bar just outside of UT. And we were jumping on and off stage like madmen. And now we're both doing, what he's done for young composers is incredible. It's a real gift. And I send composers, students to him quite often. He's created this program that brings in younger composers, puts them with others, creates an ensemble that they write for, and they have a concert at the end of the week. And Fiona was one of those composers, and he'll find mentor composers like myself to work with, and he sent me Fiona, and we clicked pretty well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was great.
I mean, my favorite instrument is the harp, so that
Well, it's right behind me, so.
So Fiona, were you writing a lot of harp music then for Sam as part of that? How did it go for you?
So the ensemble, we vote on it as a collective, the young composers in the program. Usually it's some variation of a Perot style ensemble, piano, violin, cello, percussion, flute, that general area of instruments. We each write the 3-4 minute piece for it, and at the end of the school year we put on a concert that we actually produce entirely ourselves, almost entirely as ourselves as the students, graphic design, concert planning, getting in touch with people at the venue, doing all this work. And of course we have 2 meetings with the mentor that we are paired with, so we can go over our piece at various stages of its development. Yeah, I got to work with Mr. Lipman in my very last year of the program. He came to see and all, so it was really great getting to work with him.
Do you guys keep in touch regularly? How does it go after the program?
well, it's only been a couple of months or
Okay.
so. But
Okay.
it is definitely my intention to stay in touch and watch Fiona as her music continues to blossom out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Fiona, you must have some more questions, I'm sure.
Well, speaking on the subject of teaching and I guess mentoring, is there anything in particular that you try to impart upon any of your students, whether they be at university or through Golden Hornet, or just any young aspiring musician or composer that you meet along your way?
I'm always growing as a teacher, and I'm fed and shaped by the continuous feedback and experience that I get. I think what I feel almost, more strongly than anything else right now is that, and this comes from my own experience too, is that composing tends to be a process that will jump from some things come very naturally and then some things do not. And this process can be grueling. And I see it for everybody. Everyone has their strengths, and it's easy to come from your strength. It's when you come from your weakness. You need to develop serious faith in yourself and serious patience. And most of us are not given these things. They're just not available in a normal education. I think composing takes enormous amounts of patience, having faith in oneself. Even like 3rd, 5th, 6th revision, you're like, oh my God, like not giving up. This is probably the most common thing that, forgive the term, but harp on about with students. Is faith in self and patience. Those are the twin qualities.
How do you help impart those as a teacher? Maybe Fiona didn't need that much help. Maybe she did. I don't know. But as you say, it's ubiquitous. So how do you help as a mentor to help someone grow with that patience?
Yeah, I try to encourage 2 sort of opposing things. One of them, which is my job, which can be unfortunate, is that's good. Let's do it again. Let's try for it. I hear potential where this could be better, or as long as the piece has potential to improve, then I try to encourage them to keep going. So that can be a little bit of a rejection. It can be hard, but at the same time, developing that love for that long game, the long game. And I'll show them examples from composers' works of multiple sketches, or myself, of my own struggle with something, trying to embody these opposing forces of like, that's not good enough, but it is good enough. Or, rejection plus acceptance. It's yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. So
kind of a dilemma.
no, you remind me when I was in grad school and my graduate education was in engineering and math and stuff like that. So I went to University of Hawaii on a tuition waiver. My very nice opportunity to go to Honolulu for school. But the advisor there was not like you and was all the first part of that what you just said, which is not good enough. I know everything. You're a grad student. You don't know anything. And I can tell you, as me, I mean, not everybody has an ego like I did, and certainly a little less now. But I did at that time. That didn't go over very well with me, and I bet if I had like no ego, it would have been even worse. So I think that balancing between saying, "Hey, how can we make it better?" and how can you not accept what you've done, but continue to question it and say, "Can I make it better?" or be affirmative, "I can make it better," and go back, "How do I make it better?" and look for ways to make it better. That's a balancing act, like you just said. That's you have to be still on the positive side, positive bias rather than negative bias.
Yeah, I think maybe not the phrase not accepting it, but more seeing it. It's almost like a plant, and you're looking
Oh
at this
yeah,
plant, and it's only half grown,
yeah.
but the student doesn't see that it's half grown. The student thinks this is how it is. But what I see, this plant is going to grow. I can see exactly how and where. So the only way to do that is to see and hear and listen. Where does it want to grow? And only you can write that. I mean, to be a successful composer is to be very lonely. It's to occupy an island that nobody else occupies. Because if you have a truly unique sound, you don't sound like anyone else. You can only do that through self alone work. So I think that's the other part of it. It's just a, it's not for everyone. It's really not to be tried. It's a difficult path, and it's a beautiful, very rewarding path, but it's not easy.
And Sam, I
So
think you bring up one more thing before I'll turn it back to Fiona. When you say everybody has the opportunity to develop their own unique voice, I think from film opportunities that I've heard from other people, oftentimes they get asked to compose like somebody else, like John Williams or Hans Zimmer or whatever. Then it's like, okay, well, I understand you can't afford to hire them, or maybe they're not available, or whatever it might be. But then you're trying to be somebody else. Then that's its own tricky thing.
so that's very much part of the path. And I really do believe that there's a turning point. I think you spend the early part of your career doing that very thing, and you should. There's nothing wrong with internalizing the masters. And I have my students study everything from Broadway musicals, they'll study John Williams soundtracks, they'll study John Coltrane, I Love Supreme. I'll have them study all of that. But at some point, you develop enough work and enough momentum in your life where people come to you and I want to hear something by Fiona and no one else. And that's when you panic. Because you're like, what the hell? What does that sound like? So hopefully by now, you've had time to begin to hear things, worlds of your own that take time. So I think it's okay to imitate the masters and even to be asked and paid to do that at the early stage of your career. I think, what do we call it in jazz? Paying your dues.
Yeah.
I
Fiona?
mean, there's a lot of,
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That sounds great.
but like, I think it's Sonny Rollins says this famous thing about the first time he heard Bird. Or it may have been someone else. He put his horn down for years. It's like,
Wow. Okay.
you know,
Okay. Wow.
oh yeah, Fiona.
Well, don't do that, everybody. Keep working. Don't put your horn down unless you're pondering how to make it better at the same time. I guess maybe there's some good thing to stepping away for a moment. But yeah, that's probably not the best advice. Fiona?
I was going to ask something along the lines of, how do you not necessarily suggest, but, encourage your students to find their own voice? But there's not really one foolproof way of doing that. I guess, just through a mix of experience and just synthesizing all the music you can synthesize around you. At least that's how it's been for me. I was just gonna ask, like, is there a way that you try and encourage them to do that? Is there any sort of path that you're like, let's grow this way, plant, so you can see
Sure.
light?
I think that the number one thing is write. Just keep writing.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather you write something short and imperfect than get stuck on some perfect, massive thing that can. So writing, getting things played, getting it done. Keep writing because that's how you develop your own confidence, your own language. I'd also say we're in this strange time where we're coming out of an era of academic type of music where things like emotionalism was just rejected. It was considered beneath the language. And we're now in this time where anything goes, which is a blessing and a curse. Because if anything goes, then that can be paralyzing. Right? Way too much choice. So how do we find our way through this huge conglomerate of choices? And it really takes, I almost want to say the word fetishism. A fetish is something that you are irrationally obsessed with or drawn to. Those are great things in music. Why do I love this one Mozart string quartet and I hate all the rest? What is it in there? That, whatever that is, that's you. Or because I always fall in love with one or two pieces by a composer and not by others. So I want to find out, what is that thing? I also think here's another real hard challenge is that, for example, something I've struggled a lot with is I'm kind of an emotional person. I will cry during a TV commercial about a bank account if they do it right with a grandfather and a child. Oh my God. So most composition teachers are not like that. I tend to write music that I will literally cry while I'm writing it. Not everyone's like that. So I may be prone to doing things that are not acceptable and no one's consciously saying that's wrong, but there are scripts out there that say emotion is weak, whatever, they're out there. And I think as a composer, as a young composer, navigating these hidden, invisible, almost, what's the word? Things that you're not allowed to do. Finding them, even though they're invisible, no one would say it to your face. They still have an unfortunate hold. We're all still afraid of saying the wrong thing, writing something that's too sentimental. Being able to deconstruct that and take the courage to do something that might fly in the face of such a script. So think of them as like little landmines. And I don't know if you ever struggle with that, Fiona, but I'll be like, oh, they're going to think this is too touchy-feely. And I have to go, do it anyway. That's hard. That's really quite hard.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you throw it out there and you see if they do. I mean, as you say, if you are more on the touchy-feely side, maybe the other people won't find it that way. You have to kind of assess how you feel it relative to how other people feel it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of struggle when I went to school. I didn't really fit into the academic mold. So it's been hard for me to develop the confidence and courage. But what I do find is that when I go for it, people love it. And I'm not saying this to brag, but I'm saying I wrote this huge emotional ending to my trumpet concerto, and I got 10 minutes of standing ovation, 4 curtain calls.
Wow.
They said they've
amazing.
never had a response like that before. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying it was a reward for just saying, screw it, I'm going to go for it. And I think it's what people are missing. I think there's a fear of being outwardly emotive. There's a real strong flavor for cynicism. You often hear classical music used in film as parody or as absurdity. You don't ever really hear it like taken seriously. And so you're working against this current right now that's hard.
Yeah.
And I bid you all the courage to walk through that fire and don't flinch.
You have a film coming up, if I remember correctly, something that's going to be out next month. Is that right?
I do. I have so a friend of mine, producer here in Austin, Texas, Jason Newlander, has previously produced a radio play that toured the world, took the world by storm. The Intergalactic Nemesis is what it was called.
Okay.
And after touring it and retiring it for 10 years, he decided to do another one. He wanted to retell the story of Treasure Island.
All right.
But this time, instead of a boy, he chose the hero to be a girl, Jane, instead of Jim. And Long John Silver represents a certain political name that we won't mention that's a big part of today's landscape.
All right.
And I was overjoyed when he asked me to score it. Originally, it was for 3 instruments, and we tried that. We did a live testing, and it just wasn't working. So he asked to go full orchestral with the idea of recording with a symphony orchestra, which we were going to record recently with Budapest Scoring Orchestra. The deal fell through. So we're
Okay.
talking right now with Austin Symphony about recording it. But it's an unusual project. I've never had such a great experience with a director. Usually directors are quite controlling and they'll get you to do 5 or 6 revisions on a cue. Jason and I really both love orchestral music. And so he just gave me the green light to come right out of all my favorite traditions. So I would combine this sort of, high C's there's quite a bit of Wagner in the score, but then I would combine it with kind of dissonant language of today's film scores. So I'm really proud of this one. It'll come out on September 20th and then tour the country. So keep an eye out for it. Treasure Island Reimagined.
Treasure Island Reimagined. We'll keep an eye out for everything from you, Sam. I appreciate everything that you're doing, especially when you're mentoring young people. As you know, at the Symphonina Foundation, we're all about spreading the joy of symphonic music to young audiences around the world, even in Austin, Texas, but yes, around the world. And I think it's wonderful what you're doing. So thank you very much. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
I have my website, samlipmanmusic.com. So,
You have a contact form there?
I believe I did. Yeah.
Okay, samlipman.com.
It has. So I actually have a manager, and it goes to my manager, but he's always like, he sends it to me, and then I get it back. Sometimes I get a lot of volume, and so I don't get back to everybody. But happy to chat with whoever wants to.
Don't let the manager get in the way, folks. Just email him. Just go to his site. Get in touch with him. Sam will be in touch with you. Sam, we're going to listen to some more of your great music on the way out here. If there's anything we can do at the Symphonina Foundation to be of help to you, just let us know. Fiona, thank you so much for bringing Sam to our attention and to our guest's attention. And thank you for joining me as well. Sam, we wish you all the best.
Thanks, David. It's been a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to reading and hearing all more about the Symphonina work.